Okay, so I wanted to do a review of Monday Night Raw, give some of my thoughts. Today is Monday, March the 10th, 2025, and we had a new episode of Raw on Netflix. So let's get into it. I'm going to give you my thoughts and give you my overall score for what I thought the show was. Okay, so we're coming off of the Elimination Chamber, which was last weekend, and tonight's Monday Night Raw, we're getting more into the storylines building up to the road to WrestleMania. I thought it was a pretty good show overall. I think it was better than last week's. Obviously, we had the big moment at the end that we'll get to, but let's start off with the first match. So the first match was Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller. He came out with Austin Theory, of course. His boy, always by his side. So this was a one-on-one match, Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller. I think it was a pretty good match. It was a good showcase to let Jey show what he's all about. Let him get a longer match leading up to WrestleMania, which I think is good for him. Um, he's been getting a lot of longer matches lately, and I think he's been able to show off more of his move set, which will be good going into the main event of WrestleMania. I think Grayson Waller is a good opponent for him because Grayson Waller is super athletic, has a ton of moves. He's a good seller. They don't always use him well. I don't like the direction that the tag team is going with him and Austin Theory, but I think it's good for him to like kind of get a little bit of spotlight. Try to get him into more of a solo role. Honestly, I would be good if him and Austin Theory kind of split up and went their separate ways. I think they're both talented and should be wrestling as solo wrestlers instead of this tag team. So this was a good opportunity for him. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a pretty good match. Of course, they let Jey get the win. You want to give him as much momentum going into WrestleMania as you can, and especially on like what's considered lesser opponents like a Grayson Waller. So they succeeded in doing that, and then of course Gunther came out at the end of the match, put him in the chokehold, put him in the sleeper, and that's also furthering their storyline. I like that they do have Jey as the underdog. That's the best role for him. So, of course, anytime him and Gunther interact, you're going to have Gunther come out and kind of beat him up, do something dirty, do a sneak attack. It's just classic wrestling. You build your heel up, and let them look dominant, let them look strong. You want to give the babyface something to overcome. So I thought that was pretty good. I like how they built this so far. Um, Also, I think like Jey still needs a lot of mic work. He's good in short bursts, or he's good in short doses. So having him do like less on the mic and just like get his catchphrases in, get his yeets and and let him do that, and then let him get in the ring and show off. And I think that's the best like use of him right now. The second segment of Raw wasn't a match; it was Logan Paul coming out and addressing the crowd and leading into an altercation with AJ Styles. So I thought this was another successful segment. No matter how you feel about Logan Paul, he does have a ton of heat, and whether it's real or whether it's kayfabe or both, people just can't stand Logan Paul. So they're gonna boo. They're gonna boo loud. He's definitely overtaken Dom as like the top person with like the most heat on him right now. So all of his like promos are going to get booed heavily, get him booed out of the building. This time they brought in Andrew Schultz, who a lot of people who watch wrestling may or may not be familiar with, but I think he was okay here in a like limited role. Like they didn't try to do too much with him, thankfully. Um, and then they had, of course, AJ come out and confront Logan Paul, and AJ did what he does. He looks incredible. He looks like he's back in shape. He's ready to go. So I thought that was a successful segment as far as just getting AJ some momentum going into WrestleMania as well. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to lead this up into some kind of one-on-one match with Logan Paul and AJ Styles for WrestleMania, which honestly I would be here for. I feel like Logan despite everything else with him, he's very strong in the ring. And of course, AJ is one of the all-time greats in the ring. They're both super athletic, so I would love to see what a one-on-one match will look like, especially with that kind of spotlight for WrestleMania. So hopefully that's what we'll end up getting um, going forward. The third segment, we had a tag team match with the New Day and LWO, who were represented by Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio. So this was one of their better matches together. I feel like they had a lot of big spots. I'm glad that they got a lot of time to work. I feel like tonight, especially, all of the matches got like multiple segments. They got a really long run time, which is great. Gives the wrestlers more time to show off. They don't feel as rushed. They got to get a lot of moves in, and especially in this match, you had a whole bunch of high flyers. The New Day are already legendary for being one of the best tag teams ever. I feel like they put on a good match, especially if you give them good opponents who can work well with them. They get really creative as far as spots in the ring and outside of the ring, and just like the storytelling in general. I thought that was a really good match. One of the best I've seen from the New Day in a while, and honestly, one of the best I've seen from Ray and Dragon Lee. I know they're not like a consistent tag team as far as like wrestling together a lot, but I feel like this was a good showcase for them. And then, of course, you had the moment with Chad Gable, or the person who remains unknown in the mask. I thought that was a clever little spot for them to bring him back, because honestly, I wasn't sure where that whole Chad Gable storyline was going, with him going off to like uh, train and learn how to fight and defeat the luchador. So this was a nice tie-in to that storyline, which I'm glad, because I hate when they like do these storylines and then they like never turn into anything, or they never like come into fruition. So it's nice to see that they're actually doing something with it. I don't know how it's going to end, or if it's going to like fully pay off, but I think this was a good spot for it tonight. So overall, the match was good. The crowd, of course, you had the NYC crowd. They were really hype. We got a few "This is awesome" chants, which for like a mid card tag team match early in the night is really saying something. So I thought the crowd was great. The match was really good. So I think we'll be seeing more of these teams kind of going back and forth. And honestly, I'm good with that. I think they work well together. Okay, so for the next segments, we had a couple of backstage segments where we had the Judgment Day kind of celebrating with Raquel and Liv Morgan, kind of bragging about their win and their championship aspirations, and Raquel getting a title, well, not a title shot, but a number one contenders match against Bayley. And then you had Finn Balor learning that Dom got him a intercontinental match with Braun Breaker. And it was a very short segment, but I thought it was a good sign that they're doing something new with the Judgment Day. Honestly, I think most people were tired of the Judgment Day and Damian Priest and that storyline kind of going back and forth. So I'm glad to just see Finn Balor moving on to somebody else, and them focusing on a new opponent and getting out of that whole Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest storyline. And it finally looks like they're moving on to something new. So I'm just happy for that at least. But otherwise, it was like a pretty short segment. Not too much going on. And then the next segment after that, we had Cody Rhodes come out, and it was more kind of the same. Cody Rhodes coming out talking about John Cena, talking about what happened at Elimination Chamber. Well, I do think it's good to have Cody visible and out and giving promos and, kind of keeping the spotlight on him. Without Cena there, it just kind of feels a little bit shallow, a little bit empty. So um, I'm glad that they actually have John Cena in the building next week on Raw, and they'll have like the first real confrontation between him and Cody, which we haven't seen them since Elimination Chamber. So otherwise, the promo was fine. It wasn't anything special or spectacular. Honestly, I kind of forgot what Cody said mostly, but I am looking forward to them having an actual in-ring confrontation next week. I think that'll do more to build up the feud than just simply having Cody come out and kind of repeat the same things that he said. So they definitely need to get him and Cena in the ring, maybe a little altercation, a little bit of fighting. Of course, they'll send the security out to break things up, but that's how you'll really turn up the heat on this versus Cody just coming out and talking by itself. Okay, so the next match was Raquel versus Bayley. I feel like this was a okay match. I've seen better from both. I was happy that they got a lot of time to put on a longer match. Like I said earlier, I feel like Raw has been really focusing on providing longer matches going forward. So I hope that's something that they keep up. Um, I think this match was pretty decent. I don't know if the crowd was really into this match as much. It sounds like they were pretty quiet throughout. And it's kind of weird, I guess, because Bayley is such a fan favorite, but I feel like a lot of her matches lately haven't really been generating a lot of like reaction from the crowd. And I wonder if that's because they don't really have a real direction for Bayley at the moment. Um, so she lost this match, and now she'll have to go back to the back of the line, I guess, as far as title opportunities. So it'll be interesting to see what they actually do with her. It does feel like they're giving Raquel a bit more of a push lately. Of course, her and Liv Morgan had the tag team belts, and now she's getting another like solo title shot. So I feel like they've been building her up a lot. But yeah, I'm wondering if people, if the crowd is really behind her. She doesn't generate a lot of heat as a heel without Liv, so her on her own is not getting a big reaction. And then her and Bayley just kind of got kind of a flat reaction from the crowd. But I feel like their match was better than the reaction that they got, even though it wasn't anything like spectacular. But it was a pretty solid Monday night match, so I wasn't mad at it. So then we had an interview with Michael Cole, who brought out Io Sky and Bianca Belair to discuss their upcoming WrestleMania match for the women's belt that Io won last week. And then Rhea kind of crashed the party and came out to confront Bianca. And honestly, I think it was a really good segment. I wasn't sure that they were going to be able to build up a lot of interest in this match just because Io and Bianca didn't really seem to have any beef, and it seemed like Bianca and Rhea Ripley was like a match that people were looking forward to, even though they're both baby faces. I guess Rhea could sometimes be a tweener, and she can, as she showed tonight, really have a attitude. And so, with someone like that, Rhea could work with another baby face, or she could work with a heel because she's just going to get a good reaction no matter what. So I think with having Io in that place, a lot of people may be skeptical about, how they would build that up, and would you be able to get a lot of reaction with it. And I think the way they played it tonight was really good and really strong as far as letting Io look like she's not going to be a pushover, and like that she deserves to be in the spotlight, and that she deserves to be champion, and that she deserves to be champion going into WrestleMania. I know it probably came as a big shock when she did win, because usually you don't have champions drop championships this close going into WrestleMania season. And like, especially once you're in March and you have WrestleMania like a month away, you usually don't drop championships. And if you do, it'll be like on a live event, a premium live event like Elimination Chamber or maybe Royal Rumble, but not on like a random Monday night show. So I think that was a bit of a shocker. But if you think about it, the way that Rhea Ripley had never beat Io Sky 1-on-1, and the way they were kind of building that up, it did kind of make sense, and they kind of gave us hints that they may do something like that. Um, I wasn't totally expecting them to go all the way there, but now that we're here, I'm just going along for the ride. I hope that they continue to build this up the way they are, making Io look strong. I mean, she smacked the hell out of Rhea Ripley and Bianca, and showed them that she's not going to be a pushover. So I think that's the best move for her, to make her look strong, to make her look like a deserving champion. So we'll see how it goes moving forward, but I'm definitely more interested after tonight segment. So I think that was a success on that part. Lastly, we had Seth Rollins versus CM Punk cage match, Madison Square Garden, 1-on-1. I do like the fact that they were mentioning that we hadn't had a cage match from Madison Square Garden in 10 years, and kind of leaning on the history, and mentioning, that Seth Rollins was in the last one, and just kind of leaning on the history overall of like WWE in NYC and in Madison Square Garden, because it's always like a bigger deal. Like, it's never usually just like your typical Monday Night Raw. It's almost like a mini pay per view, just because you have so many celebrities there. The crowd is usually hype, and people just love competing in that arena, like in every sport, like basketball, wrestling, boxing. Anytime there's like a big event in Madison Square Garden, it brings out like a bigger crowd, like, and it feels like a bigger deal. So I think that definitely helped with the main event tonight. The match was pretty good. I do think that CM Punk, I don't know if it's like a conditioning thing, but I feel like a lot of his matches are slower pace. Um, and I know that's generally how he wrestles. He likes to slow things down, but um, I think pairing him with Seth Rollins, of course, they had that deep history. Some of it's real, some of it's kayfabe. You never know where the line is. But having someone like Seth Rollins, who's more of a fast paced worker, I feel like helped out this match a lot. And I feel like they had a good chemistry. They told a good story in the ring. You could tell like they were very focused on, like, this is not going to be like a move set match. This was going to be a beat the hell out of each other match. So you saw just like a lot of punches, a lot of attacks, just a lot of slapping and chopping and going back and forth. This was like a fight. This wasn't like a traditional, like, just slow wrestling match. They really wanted to show that these two dudes just do not like each other. And I think it came out in the match, and I think it made the match better. I feel like all of the kickouts and the false finishes added to the drama. Like, you rarely see someone kick out of two, three, four finishers, and then especially like them going back and forth, like three different finishers a piece. And then Seth doing like the super stomp from the second rope, and them stealing each other's finishers. Like, all of that added to the drama of the match. The crowd was loving it. I loved it. I love seeing the wrestlers like be creative, like seeing Seth Rollins do a go to sleep, seeing CM Punk do the stomp. It just adds something to a match. Like, it makes it feel different, makes it feel more important. So they definitely went all out with this match. I think it was the best of the night. It deserved to be the main event, and even the finish I think was great. I think everybody's kind of heard the rumors and kind of seen that they were going to go with Roman versus Seth versus CM Punk as far as the match for WrestleMania, and they perfectly led into that by having Roman return tonight and essentially give Seth Rollins the win, but then uh, start to beat his ass after the match, and return the favor for what happened at Royal Rumble. And I think it was the best way to bring back Roman. Made him look strong. He got to beat the hell out of Seth, and then he got to go in and beat up on CM Punk too, give him a spear, and added a little friction with Paul, helping out his guy, and now that's going to cause some friction between him and Roman. So I think this was the perfect way to play it. I wasn't expecting Roman to come back tonight. I knew they were kind of hinting that he would be back in March. I thought it'd be like maybe a little bit later in the month, but it feels like it was perfect timing. Now we have enough time to build up this story about these three dudes who just want to like beat the hell out of each other. And I think that's going to be one of the most anticipated matches for WrestleMania. So definitely looking forward to that. I think it really took the grade for this show over the top. I would say this was like a 4.5 out of 5 as far as overall grade for tonight. And it's been like one of the strongest episodes of Raw that I can remember recently. And I think all of the matches were good to great. I think we didn't have one bad match on the card. I think everyone kind of brought it. Um, I like that they had, you know, longer matches, even though there was only like 4 or 5 matches tonight, giving the wrestlers longer time to tell better stories and just have better matches overall. I think it's the way to go. So this is definitely one of the best episodes of Raw recently, and hopefully they keep up this momentum going into next week and going into WrestleMania. So I'm excited now. I'm a big Roman fan. Roman is my guy, so having him come back is getting me hyped for WrestleMania now. So I'm excited to see what happens next.